Alright, so you've already taken your final impression, and now what you get back from the laboratory is a set of wax rims. What you're going to do in this appointment is you're going to modify your wax rims to make sure they have the right shape, and then you're going to take your bite registration and then send this off to the laboratory for them to set some teeth on it and give you a final wax try-in to try in the mouth. Alright, so this is what the laboratory sent back, and so now this is the final impression. It's the master cast. So this fits directly on there. This is her temporary. And so what they made is this bite rim. It's a very generic, kind of like a little looking bite rim, but I'm gonna trim it up to make it the right size for her. They connected the bite rim with two plastic temporary cylinders. So I'm gonna secure those two in the mouth. Alright, so first I'm going to take the wax rims and try them in the mouth, and I'm going to evaluate the vertical dimension of these wax rims. So you want to make sure that they're not too tall or too short. So I'm going to put them in right now, and you're going to see me kind of evaluate how the height affects her facial profile. Open a little bit bigger if you can. Okay. Kind of touch your lips together, yeah. Let your jaw drop. And now go ahead and barely touch your lips together. Barely touch them together. Okay. Now go ahead and bite down. Okay, can you come to this front here? Okay, so from this angle you can see that she looks slightly overclosed. Look at the corners of her mouth. They're kind of like creasing a little bit too much. And if you also look at her lower lip, it looks like it's a little bit puffy, kind of like she's pouting, right? So that's telling you that this lower wax rim needs some work. Okay, now one more time. What I'd like for you to do is make the sound Emma and drop your lips, and just drop your jaw. Emma.
Emma.
And barely touch your lips together. So right here, this spot right here on this patient, so after she said Emma and then slowly touches her lips together, that's VDR, so vertical dimension of rest. Now close down. And now when she closes all the way down here, that's her vertical dimension of occlusion. But here you can see that her vertical dimension of occlusion is too little, so she's overclosed. Okay. All right, that looks good. Thank you. So I'm going to be making this a little bit taller because right now it feels like it's a little bit too short. I don't know how you feel about it. How does it feel?
Like it might do it.
Yeah, I feel like you're biting a little bit. So what I'm doing first here is I'm just removing some of the wax on the lingual area because this is way too thick and there's the anatomy of the teeth is not that thick. So I'm going to go ahead and thin it out so it better mimics where her teeth position would be.
I was telling her I feel vain doing this, but...
And I'm going to use this metal spatula to help bring back that front portion where it was kind of pushing out her lip a little bit too much. I'm going to relieve some of the wax there just to bring it in a little bit. And so because the wax rim came a little bit too short, so the vertical dimension of occlusion was too short on it, I'm going to be adding some wax to it. The way I do that is I warm up a sheet of wax, I roll it up into like a little squished cigar looking thing, and then I add it to the rim and then seal it.
Oh. I just remember dressing changes were on a little baby and in a big metal tub and having to give her the...
It's a trick.
So it's important to hit the wax rim with the torch just a little bit right before you apply that extra wax, so that way it sticks. And then I go all around, and I just hit it with the torch all around to kind of like to fuse the two waxes together.
Maybe
But
1
they
out of
use
10.
a lot of ketamine.
One side at a time, yeah.
They're usually out on 3. I'm going, are they crazy?
Yeah, Isabel, they were giving her like Tylenol 3 like 20 minutes before dressing changes.
Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, no, no.
So what we did was
You should have been Arbor, man.
Isabel's she's a singer. She sings and she's got a beautiful voice. She's 19 now, and I brought a radio in because Isabel's been singing since she was.
So I'm just making these wax rims taller.
Shrek came out at that time.
So I'm attaching
Yeah,
more
She would
wax
sing
to
and
it,
then she would get that.
make it fit in with the rest of the tray.
So I brought my radio in and to sleep every day.
With their major
Sorry?
adjustment changes.
So to make the wax rim taller in an area that there's an access hole, I take this little cotton tip applicator, I break off part of the stick from it, and I put it into the access hole right before I put the slab of wax onto it. This helps keep your wax from getting into the access hole.
I see you burn.
Yeah, so
because
I don't remember if she had any similar to
things like that.
I thank God that she wasn't
Bad. But the thing is, the psychological part of it, I guess that's one that was always my favorite area, because you not only used your skills as a nurse, but you had to use your compassion and your mind, because they, they're in so much pain.
my cousin.
I got hurt really bad too by a patient. He didn't know what he was doing. He was on the vent, and I was leaning over to put him down with some Valium because he was just in stomach pain, and he weighed like 300 pounds or something, and he put his like this and it went through the rail and hit me in the stomach. I slid down to the floor. Freddie came in there. Are you okay?
Took your air out.
Oh, yeah.
Right in the stomach.
I will be in a minute.
Give me a second. Let me get your breath.
I can imagine that, letting him have pain. And we had this one patient, and in my mouth.
Oh gosh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Well, yeah, and so everybody saw it, and the surgeons and everybody that was in there were going, trying
They were
to
gagging?
Yeah, all gagging.
That would have been me.
Oh God, it was awful.
I would have been like, I gotta go home. I'm gonna be sick.
I was sick. I was sick. I threw up and threw up and threw up. And it was just a weird.
And now I run it under some cold water so that way the wax hardens up and it's easier to manipulate.
I didn't realize what an adrenaline junkie I was. Because even now, I can get all hyped up, on the TV show, and I'm telling girls, they wouldn't do that, they would do this and that. And they're going, Mom, can't you just watch it for the show?
We're getting there. Work on this thing for a little while.
Amazing what you can do. I had one of Dr. Vico's patients who broke every bone in his face in a motorcycle accident. And Dr. Vico had these pins pulling his bones back out. Like, really looked like something from outer space.
All right, so you can see that I'm really taking my time to contour these rims. Like the more time you spend making them approximate where you want the teeth to be, I think the better. The lab will have less guesswork, right? And so now I'm gonna go ahead and take off that little Q-tip stick, and you see that I preserved my access hole there, and so I didn't get any wax there. I'm gonna go ahead and trim the rim just a little bit more. I'm trying to make it a little bit more even, and then I'll go ahead and put it back in the mouth and take some new measurements.
his brother threw a firecracker up into the garage. Didn't mean for it to go in the garage, but it did, and it hit a gas can.
Oh gosh.
And so,
Wow.
yeah, I got really invested in that patient. But if this doesn't turn out to be exactly the way you want it, because I can see you're a perfectionist, don't worry about it. All I want to do is be able to chew and not take my teeth out at night.
No, I'm sure it's going to turn out great. But the thing is, it's very subjective. Alright, so this next part is just a little bit complicated. The first thing I'm going to do is take measurements of her VDR and VDO with nothing in her lower jaw. So nothing's in right now. I'm going to make a dot right here, and I'm going to give her some prompts. And then she's going to, I'm going to go ahead and show you in just a second what prompts I give her. And you're going to listen to what I'm saying to her and follow her like lip movements. And I'm going to record her VDR and VDO right now. Okay, so I want you to do the same exact things that we were talking about earlier. So you lick your lips and let your jaw drop. Now barely touch your lips together. Right there. Now don't move. So this spot right here, this measurement is the VDR, vertical dimension of rest. Okay, so now that we have the VDR and VDO recorded on that little popsicle stick, we're going to go ahead and put her lower prosthesis in. Then we're going to record the VDR and VDO again. So it's okay if your VDR was something different earlier than what it is right now. Sometimes when we have something in our mouth, our VDR naturally changes. So that's okay if they don't exactly match up, but they should still be pretty ballpark. What I'm mainly looking for right now is her VDO, so her occlusion. So when she bites down, I'm going to mark on that popsicle stick where those two dots are. Go home. And I'm watching Olivia. She's like running around grabbing stuff, trying to break them. She likes to go to the ceramic area and grab everything, of course. You can relax your lips. So right here is where I had her bite down with her existing prosthesis, and I'm marking right there. That is the vertical dimension of occlusion. Can you get it from the front here? So it's okay, and because I'm happy with how her temporary prosthesis feels, what I'm going to go ahead and do is use this as a reference. So I'm going to use the measurements from that as a reference. So now I'm taking out the lower prosthesis, I'm putting the wax rim in place, and then I'm going to have her VDO and her VDR marks match up exactly to what they looked like when the prosthesis was in place. So those dots have to match up on the popsicle stick now.
I think you know more than me, doctor. I guess that's why he's a doctor, huh?
It actually always turns out that I should listen to what you say. It's pretty much always true.
She's the doctor behind the scenes.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just a very vigilant assistant. Pay attention.
He's just the face of the...
He's the face of the videos.
And just the
I'm in
face
the
first.
background.
Sometimes you get a little bit of wax under the rim, or you have some spots where the acrylic is sharp and you have to adjust those down just so that this rim seats comfortably. So I'm doing that right now.
I guess they pay an extraordinary amount of money.
Barely touch your lips together.
I forgot, I'm sorry.
No,
I'll
it's
tell you again. Okay. Emma.
Not biting, just barely touching your lips together. Okay, go ahead and bite down. Jaw. Barely touch your lips together. So this spot right here, this measurement is the VDR, vertical dimension of rest. bite down. And this measurement right here, this is the vertical dimension of occlusion. So now the VDR and VDO on the temporary match the same VDR and VDO on the wax rim. Okay. So now I remove a little bit of material from the back of the wax rim, so that way I have some space for impression material. But in those little notches that I made, I make extra marks, so that way it indexes how that impression material sits on those, how the impression material sits on that rim. So now I put the wax rim back in the mouth. I secure both of the implant spots. So I secure the screws at both of those areas, and I'm going to use some bite registration material. And then I tell her to just relax her jaw and lightly bite down. I'm going to have you just go ahead and relax your jaw and go ahead and close down gently. Yeah, gently. Okay, right there. You can just relax now. Perfect.
Yeah, I've been there when it was 114.
Here I'm just checking that I can put the impression material on the wax rim predictably, that it goes on there real snug, and that my laboratory won't be confused about how they relate to one another. Alright, so now you have your wax rim, you have your bite registration, and so you're going to send those two things along with your model and a shade. You're going to send that off to your lab, and they're going to send you back a full wax try-in. So you're going to try this in, full wax try in the mouth, and I'll show you how to do that in the next video.